Hey, so in this lecture I'll talk about how we can access the characters within the standard string. In this example I have s1, string 1, and I initialize that to Bob, and then I go and print it out. But let's say we want to have access to each element within that string, each character within that string within some for loop. Then of course we want to iterate on that in the for loop, so I'll do I is less than 3 for right now. And what we can do is we actually have the overloaded subscript operator for the standard string. So I'll pass in I, the iterator, and then since I'm doing endline, should get that printed up vertically. Okay, we get Bob printed out vertically in this column because we do the endline. And what we can also do is we can use the add member function. Okay, so this is another one that we can do. Build a run, and you can see that works fine as well. Now we can also use those to change the elements within the string. The first element in the string, I'm going to change that to M instead of B, and here I'll just use that add again, build a run, and we get mob now instead of Bob. Okay, I'll just go and remove that endline at the end. We can also use the add function right here, so string 1, at index 0, go and set that element to M, build a run, and we get mob now. And then one final thing here, we can also go and check for the size. So currently I'm doing I is less than 3, but of course if we go and change that in the initialization, let's say that is something else now, or later on in the program we go and change that. We've seen that we can do that as well. For example, if I do something like that, build a run now, we will only get HEL printed out. So we want to get the size of the string, and we have a member function for that. As long as I is less than the size of the particular string, so we do s1 dot size, a really convenient function, and I can build a run now, and you can see that now updates to hello. And if I comment this line out, build a run, you can see we get more printed out. Okay, so that is how we can access individual elements and also how we can get the size of the standard string. We can also use a range-based for loop. So if I go and do for every character C in the string s1, go and print that character out, build a run, and we get mob. And of course I can go and change that now to hello, and that will now print out hello. So that is the for each loop. Now you can imagine if you change this from a char to an int, and I build a run now, then we're going to get the ASCII representation. So I'll just go and do, maybe add a space or a tab, and build a run again. And you can see we get the ASCII representation of those characters. Now as an exercise, I'd like you to go ahead and try to access the first character within the string and also the last character. Go ahead and see if you can find member functions for that, and try and print out the first and last characters within the string, and then also take a look at what the functions actually return. Okay, so moving on, I'm not going to do this for loop anymore. We can use the front function to get the first character in the string, and then we can also do the back function. Copy this. We can use the back member function on the standard string to get the final character, the last character in the string. And before we go ahead and do this, I'll actually remove these two lines. Control F5 to build a run. We should get uppercase B and lowercase b. But we can see that those return a reference. So let's see if we can use those functions to go and change those elements. You can see that we have two overloads here. We have the one that returns a reference to a character constant, and then you have another one that returns a reference to a character. Okay, so you have those two. That is why I can now go and use this front, because it's going to return a reference to the first character when L value. Okay, so I can go and set that front to M. and I can bold run, and now we get M for the first character. And of course, if we go and print out S1 again, we should get S1 here, we should get mob instead of Bob. Alright, and that's what we get. Similarly, if we go and assign that to some character, for example, instead of doing this, just comment that out. Let's say I assign what that returns, S1 string1 dot front, to this character C here. I will print C out instead of the front, bold run, and we get what we had before. But what happens if we change C now? So I assign M to C, I go and print that out, and of course down here I'm going to print that string out again. Bold run, and we'll still get Bob. But of course, what we can do is we can have this be a reference. C is a reference to a char now, so we are referencing that first element, and then we assign M to that. So C is now basically an alias for that first element within that first character within the string S1. And if I bold run now, of course we will get more printed out instead of Bob, even though we are assigning M to the C right here, but again C is a reference. Alright, so just a couple of demonstrations that I wanted to show you with this. Again, we can access the first element in the string, so the first character within a string, using the front member function, and the last element or character within a standard string using the back member function, and those return references. As a summary on accessing the characters in a standard string, the characters in a standard string object can be accessed using the subscript operator or the @member function. We've seen these couple of demonstrations, and we can also return a reference to the first or last character in a standard string object using the front or the back member functions. Alright, and with this we are going to wrap up this lecture.